What was it about the original story that made you want to get involved with it and make it?
I mean, it was the characters. It was the people who were. It's a story of father and son who really have issues to deal with between themselves, and at the same time as they're doing this mystery, they have to solve personal things. And it was just, it was such a wonderful, profound story that I just fell in love with. In addition, it was just super creepy to read. I mean, I was scared stiff by reading the screenplay, and that's a tricky thing to do.
I mean, like, knowing that it is as as scary as I found it to be. I mean, was there any particular influences that you wanted to use from what you've seen in other like films or people that's inspired you to? Is there a certain way that you wanted to make it, but before you started?
I mean, there are movies that inspire it, but I'm trying to avoid like very, very specific inspirations. But I mean, gut feeling would be like The Conjuring and Seven, and obviously The Shining are movies that you never, in a way, get away from, and those are definitely all inspiring the movie somehow.
And being that it's now part of the BFI London Film Festival, I mean, how does that feel, first off, to be bringing it here for UK audiences to see?
No, it's amazing. It's like coming home to where it was shot and created. So it's an honor to be able to show it at the BFI London Film Festival. It's just I'm floored that they want to show it, and I'm just obviously very excited. Yeah.
And lastly, what's if audiences can take away anything from this? I mean, what is it that you'd really like them to come away with?
I just hope the audience has a scary thrill ride of 90 minutes of scares and thrills.
What was it about the film that made you want to get involved?
Well, for a start, André, great director to work with. I saw Troll Hunter, so obviously knew his work and met André and Fred and Rory, and great script, lovely challenge for a designer to be in one location, one set for pretty much all the film. So there's a lot of challenges there technically and in terms of creatively to kind of just make sure that our audience are still with you at the end, given that you haven't left those four walls for sort of 120 minutes. So yeah.
And obviously knowing from other films that have taken place in just one place, like Panic Room, for instance, Phone Booth, so many I can't really remember. I mean, for a designer, I mean, the challenge of, as you say, to keep it in one room and entertaining for 90 minutes. I mean, how did you want to achieve that from the start?
I think what's nice about this film is that it goes, without spoiling anything, it goes through different stages. So there's lots of lighting changes. There's at various points during the film, they're under different pressures, and that changes the environment because the power cuts out at one point, lights go out, other things change. So we've managed to get a lot of different looks throughout the film, and it does feel like a different space, I think, at certain points. So yeah, it and by the end of it, it looks like a completely different space. So.
The fact that obviously a film that you've been involved in is now a part of the London BFI Film Festival. I mean, how does that make you feel as a filmmaker?
It's very exciting. Yeah, it's brilliant. Yeah, it's lovely, and even they built a new cinema here to show it in as well, which is great. Yeah.
How did you both become involved in the project?
I was very fortunate to meet the young writers Ian Goldberg and Richard Nang, who had this idea of a horror film set entirely in a family morgue, which immediately caught my attention because it was very different and original compared to every other horror film, many of which are haunted house films or exorcism films, or sort of at the same mold. And Rory and I love approaching genre from a new angle and seeing if we can kind of add an original spin to it, still thrill the fans, as you were saying, but also maybe bring it one step further and kind of take you by surprise a little bit. And we just developed it really in a bubble, saying, what's the horror movie of our dreams? Like, what's the one that exists in the canon of films we love, whether it's Seven or Shining or Rosemary's Baby or Don't Look Now, the ones that inspired us to become filmmakers in the first place. Sort of naively ambitious, and we were surprised very pleasantly when it struck a chord with the industry, and then beyond that, and we're able to actually make it. It was a very gratifying experience because it was born really out of a pure love of these films and what they can do at their best.
Yeah, no, when it first came to us, it was a fully formed script that these guys had developed, and a mutual friend and colleague put us in touch because Fred and Eric, the producers who had developed it, were looking to do it in a more interesting way, and they thought about how adding a European aesthetic would be interesting. And we're London-based producers, and we had some track record of making films, certainly on a tight budget, which we knew this would always be. And the first thing when it was mentioned to us, I said, I'm not that into horror, so I don't know, but I'll read it. I'll read it, and loved it immediately. And actually, funnily enough, since then I've made a few horror films, and really now I'm quite into horror. But I think coming to it from, I didn't come to it from within the genre of horror, but took it on its own merits, which is a great horror film. But I think also a really strong and powerful drama, and it was doing things a bit differently. It was pushing the genre, and I think whenever you have the opportunity as a producer to get involved in a film that pushes the boundaries a bit, that's where you want to be. So we were just excited to get involved, and then we ended up making it in London, of all things, for an American movie with American characters.
I think looking at it, whenever you sort of approach a project of any kind that it's going to be pretty much just located in one space of time for a good 90 minutes, and the fact that obviously you found ways to constantly keep the audience entertained for that entire period, it essentially becomes another character in itself. So it's just more than beyond the two characters themselves. I mean, did you have any ideas that's what you could initially do with it when you started?
Yeah, I mean, even before there was a script, it was really important to us, if we were going to contain it, that the atmosphere didn't feel suffocating and that it did become a character. And that's why the first real scene in the film is an introduction of the morgue. Before we meet Brian and Emil's characters, we meet the morgue, and we travel through it very carefully to say, this is where we're going to spend the next 90 minutes. And this place has its own character, its own history, and it's really important that you understand that this place is alive in different ways, and that the colors and the aesthetic and the little scratches on the wall all tell you something that's going to be important in the journey you're about to take. And so I'm so glad that you felt that and caught that, because it's Matt, who you just spoke to, did such a brilliant job, and all the choices and details within it are so crucial to the experience of the movie itself. And being able to, it was also very important that it be one continuous space and not these various rooms, so that the actors actually felt like they were in a real existing place. By the end, it was like the Overlook Hotel. It was a place that was real and haunting in itself. When you were there after hours, you heard some creaks, and it was you knew if you were scared on a set, you probably were creating a scary movie eventually.
And very just quickly before you, I know you both had to shoot off. I mean, it's the London BFI Film Festival. It's one of the most popular, recognised festivals that you could have any film in. I mean, how does that generally feel to have it here for an audience to see and enjoy?
It's a huge treat. I've been lucky to go to a few film festivals around the world with different films, but there's nothing like being at the film festival in your hometown and playing in front of a home audience. It's a little bit nerve-wracking, I'll admit, to go in with a home audience here, but I hope not. But we've had a film before, Shifty, in the London Film Festival, which was a London-based film. This is a London-based film in a very unexpected way, and I think it has a tremendous reputation as a film festival for playing just good films. So we feel incredibly lucky and blessed to be here with it.
And I'll just add a quick note, which is we've just done 3 big genre film festivals: Midnight Madness at Toronto, Fantastic Fest in Sitges, and had a great response. But in a way, it was an even greater honor to be accepted here, which is not a festival that focuses on genre, but just great films and great cinema, and has an audience that appreciates great filmmaking. And so to be included alongside other great films that are just recognized on their craft and on their drama has been a real honor and a pleasure.